Thank you. Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting for the Committee of Adjustments. Tonight's Committee of Adjustment hearing is being held by video conference and live streaming video on the town's live stream webpage at oakville.ca. This is a hearing to consider applications for minor variance and consent held under the authority of the Planning Act. Please keep in mind the intent of this process is to review the application that is before the committee, listen to the evidence, and then make a decision. This process is not intended to be used to resolve any concerns or disputes that may exist between the town, individuals, or organizations. If a request for deferral is made, the committee grants such a request. The applicant or authorized agent must contact the Secretary-Treasurer to schedule a new hearing date. In order to conduct an effective and efficient electronic hearing, we have adopted the following process. If you are watching the live stream of this hearing on oakville.ca and you wish to speak to an item on the agenda, you can call 905-815-6095. Again, that's 905-815-6095. The phone number will also be posted on the screen page for the live stream at oakville.ca. Staff will be standing by to take your call. When you call in, staff will ask for your name, item number that you wish to address, and your telephone number. Further instructions will be provided for you to call back to join the video conference. When the chair of the committee polls for interested parties, you'll have to press *6 to unmute yourself. The applicant or agent will have 5 minutes to briefly explain to the committee the basis of their application and answer any questions that may arise. You'll need to state your full name and address for the record, and any submissions beyond the 5 minutes will be at the discretion of the committee. All delegations must also state their full name and address for the record. A maximum of 5 minutes will be provided for each presentation. All remarks and questions are redirected to the chair. Any submissions beyond the 5 minutes will be at the discretion of the committee. The applicant or agent will then be provided with a further 5 minutes to respond to comments made by interested parties and answer any questions from the committee members. If the applicant or agent has concerns found in staff report, particularly any proposed conditions, that will be the opportunity to advise us. The matter will then be taken into committee for a decision, and this will end all discussions. Any person desiring a notice of the decision for an application must provide a written request, preferably through email, to the Secretary-Treasurer. Written notice of the committee's decision will be mailed no later than 10 days for minor variance and 15 days for consent application to the applicant, agent, and any other person who has filed a written request for such notice. The last day to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal will be noted on the decision. Please note that only the applicant, specified persons, and public bodies may appeal the committee's decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. In November 2022, Bill 23 legislation, the More Homes Built Faster Act, amended the Planning Act to remove appeal rights for members of the public. If no appeal is received within the prescribed timeframe, the decision of the committee becomes final and binding. The Secretary-Treasurer will then notify the applicant and anyone who has received a copy of the decision through written correspondence. We ask that people participating in this hearing are to be courteous and respectful of the members of the committee, town staff, and any other person participating in this electronic hearing. Tonight's electronic hearing is being video recorded and available for future viewing at oakville.ca. Thank you. Regrets. I believe Mr. Hardcastle has communicated his regrets. I hope everyone's made it safe. I think April Fools skipped the day with this weather that we're having today. Do I have any declarations of pecuniary interests? I see none. Thank you. Okay, Madam Secretary-Treasurer, I will now be taking requests for deferral, withdrawal of applications. Anyone who is in the audience in attendance of this meeting tonight who wishes to defer an application for further discussions with the town or for any other reason, please raise your hand and the Secretary-Treasurer will invite you to speak.
Madam Chair, I see one hand up. I will
Go ahead, thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
Yes. After receiving the comments,
First of all, which item number and your name and address for the record, please.
it's Paul Mandrish calling. Paul Mandrish here for 1321 Duncan Road.
Application number.
That's on another computer. Sorry, I thought it was automatic.
That's fine. We'll find it. CAV 047 of 2025 at 1321 Duncan Road.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
We want to defer.
Okay.
I've advised, based on the comments I received, I've advised the owner and the builder to revise their plans.
Okay, so you're deferring for further consultation.
That's right.
Very well. Members, all those in support of the deferral? Okay, the application has been deferred. You'll see the Secretary Treasurer at your earliest convenience. Thank you, Mr. Mandarish.
Okay, thank you very much.
Have a good evening. Anyone else, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
No, Madam Chair, I see no more hands up.
Very well. We'll start with the first application on our agenda this evening, and that's CAV 041 of 2025 at 2400 Barronwood Drive. Again, that's CAV 041 of 2025 at 240 Barronwood Drive. I have the agent as Mullen Mavani.
A lot for giving an opportunity to join and speak on behalf of our client for 2400 Barronwood Road. Thanks a lot, committee members as well. Just a second, miss. This application is for the second dwelling development where the providing a third parking space is not possible. And I guess I can go over a little bit more in detail about the presentation if we can go to the page number 3 of this particular presentation. So as you can see, this is a townhouse block, and this is the end unit, which has enough space and possibility to develop the second dwelling. We have submitted the application and also received the feedback and support from the city and different departments as well, or otherwise no comments from anybody else, which is kind of objecting this particular area. And this effort is basically being put in regards to the housing plan and action plan. So we would really appreciate if committee can approve for this particular application for allowing a second dwelling development without requiring the third parking spot. If we can jump to page number 4, that will provide a little bit more clarification as well. So yes, as you can see here, there are 2 parking spots already available, and the third one is not possible to fit in over here. We have other documents as part of this particular presentation, which is how that particular space planning is being developed, but I don't think so that it would be relevant to or much of a benefit for this particular meeting or discussion. But yeah, that's essentially what we wanted to represent here.
Okay, very well, Mr. Mavani. Is that the end of your presentation?
Sorry, miss?
I said, are you done? That's the end of your presentation?
Yes.
Okay, very well, thank you.
And the city's comment has already been provided, which is also pretty much in favor of our application.
Yes, we've seen that. Thank you. Questions from the committee members to Mr. Mavani? Are there any? Go ahead, Mr. Dickey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the agent, how many cars do the owners own or have?
Currently, the owner only has one car, so there would not necessarily be much of a issue, even if the second dwelling would have any personnel would have any car or something like that.
Okay. I just pointed out a couple of things I'm concerned about. First of all, when I visited the property, there were 8 cars parked on the street, and I was there in the middle of the day. And those cars, I assume, relate to the 3-story condominium blocks to the north, not necessarily to your condominium or street townhouses. But there is well, in the middle of the day, I was surprised that there'd be so many cars parked there. The second thing I want to point out is apparently back in 2010, the Committee of Adjustment gave this development a approval to reduce the number of visitor parking spaces from what was supposed to be 6 to 0. So that sort of puts another element of cars on the street when visitors come to visit those townhouses. So I'm a little bit concerned about another car being added on there when you apparently, unless I'm wrong, apparently there seems to be a parking problem on the condominium building, a totally different development, don't get me wrong, to the north, and the fact that you don't have visitors parking on your own development. Any comments, anything you want to straighten me out about? I appreciate it.
No, I understand that there is a visitor parking or a public parking allowed onto the side of the street towards the Barronwood side or towards this particular property is, and maybe people out of convenience might be parking their cars over here. I mean, I do see this presentation right now, which has this particular Google image, and I do see that there are parking spots on the visitor side that has been filled in. But at the same time, a lot of driveway has been empty. So maybe there is this could be a strictly out of convenience as well. And again, as I highlighted, the owner only has one car, and even considering a lot of other commute and public transit that is located around it, I guess the owners wouldn't mind having kind of renting it out to this space to somebody who might be more focused towards commute public transit rather than having their own car or something like that. But having said that, even if there is one, there is always a possibility to park the car for that, since there is one particular spot that is available, right, out of 2.
So you're saying that you still haven't rented this dwelling, or
This is
it is just for development right now? It's not like you know ahead of time who's going to be dwelling in it.
Yes, but then we can always kind of set up our guidelines and criteria, right, if required as required. More importantly, I guess there has not been any, we were in the process of applying for the building permit in order to develop the second dwelling. And this particular item came up, and that's why we went through this particular correct route rather than taking any shortcuts.
Okay. Any further questions or items of clarification? Go ahead, Mr. Talas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is for Ms. McKnight. If you can help me out with meeting the first test of intent of the bylaw. Bylaw clearly shows that a additional parking space is required for an additional dwelling unit, and I fully appreciate the need to provide additional housing. I know the town is in the midst of amending its zoning bylaw. When that comes forward or as part of the process, is the town looking at changing this requirement to remove the need for an additional parking space or an additional dwelling unit?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm not familiar with the town looking to remove this requirement. The town updated the official plan policies and the zoning regulations regarding accessory dwelling unit permissions. That was in 2024 in accordance with the updated legislation, which was Bill 23, to allow for 3 units per lot and a maximum parking maximum parking requirements for additional dwelling units. The parking requirements do require that one additional parking space be provided for each additional dwelling unit. There was also a housing strategy and action plan approved by council in December of last year. But there is one parking space required per additional dwelling unit throughout the entirety of the town. And staff do recognize that the subject property is located within the Palermo Village, which is a growth area. So provided the property is in a growth area and in proximity to transit options, commercial uses, employment uses, multi-use trails, so on and so forth, the proposed reduction of one's parking space was not of substantial concern to the town.
I guess this is where my confusion comes in. The town has a brand new zoning bylaw that requires the parking, yet every application for an additional unit that comes before the committee, the town supports not having to provide the additional parking. So it seems something's out of alignment here.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. There may be opportunities to explore this being noted as a concern for the future amendments to the zoning bylaw. At this time, there is a general provision for any additional dwelling units within the town.
And they're, Ms. McKnight, they're not required to disclose, or that's part of the rental agreements that they would have, like similar to what we require condominiums to disclose when the parking is a little off or the spacing is a little off.
Through you, Madam Chair, I do, to the best of my knowledge, I'm not aware that they are required to disclose that information. That could potentially be implemented as a condition.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any further questions? Has anyone called with interest for this application?
No, Madam Chair, there have been no calls.
Very well. Do you have anything further to say, Mr. Mavani?
Not necessarily, Miss. It's just that this is basically the owner wants to kind of in order to kind of support the growth and strategy plan of the housing plan. I guess they are also kind of willing to go one step forward and kind of develop this particular second dwelling, and kind of course there would be a secondary income, potential secondary income, but they I guess they don't see much of a issue out of this. The neighborhood's pretty quiet, generally speaking, otherwise, so we don't see much of an issue allowing for this particular thing. That's everything from my side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll take the matter into committee. Who would like to make a motion? Go ahead, Ms. Price.
I guess based on my site visit, the owner's report and the agent's presentation, as well as the staff's planning report, I believe and there's been no letters of objection. I believe the 4 tests have been done, and therefore the variance can be considered minor in nature. I recommend the owner's application be approved subject to the following conditions. That the approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision if a building permit has not been issued for the proposed construction.
Very well, thank you. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? Okay, I see none. All those in support? I have to see hands. I can't see. Okay, Ms. Price is in support. All those in opposition?
Chair, sorry.
Sorry.
If I can speak to the motion.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Talski.
And Chair, I'm going to very reluctantly support this application. I don't want to stand in the way of providing additional housing units, and don't want to stand in the way of the owner being able to maintain their property in this time of affordability. I'm going to accept staff's comment on this application that this is a growth area near transit and trails, but I I think town's putting the committee in a tough position to determine that this meets the intent of the zoning bylaw that's brand new when it's basically not being followed. I say on this application, I'm stretching to find that it meets the intent given the location, but I believe this is something that staff should really take a closer look at when they're redoing the zoning bylaw.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Talosky. I don't know if it froze or I didn't see your hand up, but okay. Thank you for your comments. Are there any further comments with respect to the discussion on this recommendation? Okay, I see none. Now we can take it to a vote. All those in support? Okay. All those opposed? Okay, and the chair abstains. Have a good evening. Your application has been approved.
Appreciate it, Miss. Thank you. Thanks a lot, every committee member. Greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Have a good
And have a
evening.
wonderful day. Bye.
Okay, we are going to go to application CAV 042 at 2202 Brookhaven Crescent. Again, that's CAV 042 of 2025 at 2202 Brookhaven Crescent. I have 7 letters of opposition from David and Sophia Ross, Sandra and Doug Costantini, Eusebio Gomez, Meryl and Dora Vargas, Henry Candelaria, Honorato Oliveira, Pat Bodie, and I have a request to attend from Mr. or Mrs. Eusebio Gomez. I have Shivang Tarika as the agent. And once again, the number to call with respect to this application is 905-815-6095 if you have any interest to speak to the committee.
Good evening, chair members. This is Shivang Tarika. I'm actually the applicant on the property 2202 Brookhaven. So what we are proposing over here, we are actually proposing to, one second, I'll just open the video. Yeah, okay. So what we are actually proposing, we are proposing a second unit dwelling in our in our basement. We do have 4 feet setback on both the sides of the property, on the left side as well, and also on the right hand side. And as you see on our site plan, we already have an existing pool and a proper paved area for the owner at the upstairs who live there for their family, friends, and relatives. Now, in order to get in order to get the side yard entrance done, there is a discrepancy in the grade of the house, because of which we have to make a couple of steps down on the side yard in order to match the level. The reason we are actually going on the side yard, not on the backyard, is just to maintain the privacy of the owner, because they actually very well set up with the families and everybody come out due to the privacy invasion. They actually want us to get the approval done from the side yard, and that's why we are proposing it. We have gone through the report as well and the objection as well. One comment that came through the fire department is the firefighting operations. And I do understand that we need 1,000 meter of a clear pathway for any firefighting operations. And I do see on the other side, there is one window, which is, although it's still giving 1,000 meter, but we can still relocate that window and make the full entire pathway of 1.2 meter on one side, which is like a completely 4 feet clear setback. And they can actually, all the firefighting operations could be done if we have a proper one side unobstructed pathway from the front yard to the backyard. And one side, of course, we are actually putting our separate entrance and using the side yard setback. The reason we are using it, because And why we are actually following to go with this, and we were motivated enough because on one side we have an entire 4 feet of clear pathway. Hypothetically, if we have no, on the other side we don't have any space and no, we can't go back and forth for our house, even we would have demotivated or not put this application. The reason we were able to do that because we have a complete pathway on the other side. And as far as plumbing is considered, the drainage and the swale points, we are okay to provide the grading plans and everything. If it's affecting any grade or something, we will respect the decision of our development department regarding the plumbing or the plane. But what we saw there, there is no plumbing or a drainage on that side. But if there is any issue you feel for the grading and something, we'll definitely respect the decisions, and the permit would get rejected on that basis. That's completely fine. But it prima facie doesn't look like it has any thing on the side yard or where we are proposing the entrance. Just we have made two steps on the other side as well, just to have a clear pathway to go. If the committee does not want us to have two steps at the top, we are again okay with that. Our main objective was to have a clear one side, a clear pathway of 4 feet, and the other side we can just have the exit to the secondary unit by keeping our backyard completely intact and not affecting the privacy of it. So that's what our recommendation and our proposal. The report, I do understand, does not affect for the firefighting operations. They said that there's some obstructions on the other side regarding wells and something. I'm 100% willing to remove that window from that side and make a clear path of 4 feet on one side. But if still any other comments which committee or fire department or plumbing department want us to do, we'll be more than happy to do those. Thank you.
Mr. Shivrang, this is your first time before us, I'm assuming. So
Yeah.
you're not very familiar, probably. Um, when you received the unfavorable comments, did you make an effort to reach out to the town to see what and how you can remedy the situation? Because you're giving a lot of if scenarios and willingness to make changes. However, as a committee, we don't accept these changes on the fly. That's why it's very important to reach out to the planner and ahead of time and come to an understanding of what can be done and what would be acceptable. So, did you take the opportunity to do that?
Through the chair members, I had actually called the department to understand the planning and the fire department requirement. I was under the impression, and what I understood was we need minimum 1,000 meter, as in like 1 meter of a clear path for any firefighting operations needs to be done. If you clearly notify on that particular site, we actually made the well little very less of 8 inches, and we have a setback of 1.22 meter, which is actually complying with 1 meter for the firefighting operations. That's why we thought that this numbers would be enough in order to achieve for the firefighting operations, because we have 1,000 meter of a clear pathway and no other obstruction is coming in the middle. But having said that, I was saying that if still this window is not good enough for the fire department, I was not sure. We can still relocate that, because that was one of the comment given by the fire department. Sorry, but I didn't feel as of now to make any change in the drawing because I was not aware of it, that we should make the change in the drawing as of now. I thought based on the ideas and discussions, we would be able to make that change accordingly. But if that window works out, there is no problem with us too.
Okay, I personally am not comfortable looking at your application without concrete scenarios. If you want to continue with the application as it has been delivered and presented to us today, that's your call. The other thing is that you can take a deferral and take your time to explore all your options before you come before the committee, so that we can decide. But I will take questions from my colleagues and see what we come up with for now. Members, are there any comments or questions of Mr. Tarika at this time? Go ahead, Mr. Talowski.
Thanks, Madam Chair. perhaps more comment and questions of the applicant. I believe the chair is providing good advice. You have shown a willingness to make changes to accommodate the concerns of the staff and the fire department, but as the chair has indicated, this isn't the forum to do that. It's not. And again, to the chair's comments, you're not one of the regulars here that understands the process and is before us every month. But the way to get an approval is to have all these matters dealt with beforehand, have staff satisfied that the drainage still works when there's no ability for a swale on that one side. It's not for the committee to say, okay, we'll approve you conditional on removing that window well. Fire department may come back and say that window well is necessary for egress in case of emergency from the basement. So this isn't the forum to negotiate changes. And I would just suggest that you consider the chair's willingness to allow you to request a deferral.
Through the chair members, I'll accept that. We'll defer it for the next meeting. Meanwhile, we'll get a chance to talk to the planning department, ask what are our options and how we can alternate the drawing, and then we'll come back next time. Sorry for that.
That's fine. We can defer your application. There will be a deferral fee. You'll see the secretary treasurer when you're ready, and she will provide you with a new hearing date, and then you'll be able to come and present. I will also caution you that 7 of the neighbors have submitted letters of opposition. It may be worth your time to do a canvass of the area and figure things out in terms of what their concerns are, so that you have dealt with the situation in its totality.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Members, all those in support of a deferral? Okay, the application has been deferred, none opposed, and you'll see the secretary treasurer at your earliest convenience.
Thank you so much. Thank you, chair members.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
I will caution other applicants, given the fact that there are several of the applications that have not seen support or may need or require further consultation, that this is the time to really consider before we look at your presentations. We'll take the next matter into committee. The application is CAV 043 of 2025 at 1374 Sedgwick Crescent. Again, this is application 043 of 2025 at 1374 Sedgwick Crescent. I do have a letter of opposition on record from Edward Booz, and Mr. Kieran is the agent. Go ahead.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Joris Kieran. I'm the applicant. I'm the agent for the applicant on this file, and I'll just do a brief presentation for the committee. I'll just start with highlighting that, as the committee is aware, the planning staff does support this application. And specifically saying that staff are of the opinion that the proposal represents appropriate development of the subject lands. The variances are minor in nature and will not create an undue adverse impact to adjoining properties or existing neighborhood character. So that's, in summary, the opinion of planning staff. The letter of objection we received is speaking to the size of the dwelling, is objecting to the size, which I will address later in the presentation. The size increase is very small in this case, and we've taken several steps to address the massing and overall appearance of scale. So that I think is not an issue. The other item brought up in the objection is the, I guess, nuisance of construction activity, which I think is not something this committee deals with. And also there's a point that perhaps these variances are going to prolong the construction phase, but you know, adding 100, 200 square feet to a house doesn't add months to the construction time frame. It really adds no extra time. It's all just done in the same process. So that's not really, I think, a relevant point there. The slide presentation here. So slide 1, going to that, we've just highlighted, as we normally do, the variances that are being sought. So we have a floor area variance being sought, and then also a garage area increase being sought. If we go to slide 2, please. All right, so the box in the garage, that's basically representing the area of increase that pushes the house over in terms of garage area, and that's a space for seasonal storage and various other things. So that's that area. The second box is indicating the area, the floor area, the RFA, which is over the limit on the first floor. And then if we go to slide 3, then this is also the floor area on the second floor. So if you take those two areas together, that's basically the cumulative total of the variance that we're seeking for floor area. And just notice that the variances are numbered incorrectly on our slideshow. Apologies. So variance 1 is actually the garage variance, and variance 2 is the floor area variance. So it's just flipped around. Go to slide 4, please. So this is the exterior of the dwelling. You can see that we've broken up the massing. Front porch is 1 story. The garage is lower as well, and we have different levels of the roof happening. And then if we go to slide 5, so this is the other side of the garage. We've staggered the front of the garage to further break it up, and then the additional space that we are requesting is really just set towards the rear, so it's not really visible from the street at all, and not very visible in general. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Sorry, I was muted. Are there any questions or items of clarification for Mr. Kieran at this time? Okay, I see none. Has anyone called with interest for this application, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
No, Madam Chair, there have been no calls.
Very well, then we'll take the matter into committee. Who would like to move a motion? Go ahead, Mr. Dickey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Based upon my review of the owner's application, the site plans, the building elevation, my site visit, together with the presentation by the owner's consultant and the planning staff report, also having regard to the letter of opposition by one of the neighbors. However, I'm satisfied that the variance is minor in nature and conform to the 4 tests under the Planning Act. I put forward a motion that the application as applied for be approved, subject to the condition that dwelling be constructed in general accordance with the submitted site plan and elevation drawing dated February 12th, 2025, and that the approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision if a building permit has not been issued for the proposed construction.
Thank you, Mr. Dickey. Is there discussion on this recommendation? I see none. All those in support? Okay, the application has been approved, none opposed. Thank you.
You.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Application CAV 044 of 2025 at 426 Brookside Drive. Again, it's 044 of 2025 at 426 Brookside Drive. I have Mr. Curtis Van Kulen as the agent.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Curtis Van Kulen, representing the owner of this property.
Go ahead, Mr. Van Kulen.
Thank you so much. If staff would go to page 6 of the supporting documents. And just for the record, it's file number 044-2025-426 Brookside Drive. I did submit a written letter that would outline the requested variance and also the building's massing. And I just wanted to highlight that with this three-dimensional collection of views for you this evening. Our submitted variance, there's only one. We're looking for an RFA variance, which translates to about a 1.7% overage. And with the massing design you have in front of you, what we have done is reduce the front entrance to a single-story entrance feature. We've pushed in multiple sections on the facade of the second floor above the garage. And we have a corner feature, as this is a corner lot. We have a corner feature, which is a living room with a slightly higher ceiling than the rest of the first floor. It is not anywhere close to being 2 stories. It's about a story and a half. And that feature, again, further breaks up as we turn the corner. There are a number of recesses built into the building facade and massing. And then further, some gable roof portions are dropped and staggered in order to create interest along the exterior side yard facade. If staff could go to page 9 of the supporting document and zoom in primarily on figure 2 on page 9. Thank you so much. So this is a roof plan, and I wanted to highlight these sections as well. We further stepped in the second level on the second story to come away from the neighboring lot to the south. And that neighboring lot is a single story and a half sort of older home, and we wanted to bring the massing away from that side in order to respect the transition between our developed property and the current development that is there. And if staff could go to the next page. There are a number of homes in the area, predominantly on similar lots. On the corner lots are the 2 illustrations that I've focused on here. One is directly behind our application, and it is a very similarly positioned home with very similar features. And then the home across the street, across Brookside Drive, directly almost north, would be seen in the second photograph in figure 5. That is more of a straight 2-story development, as you see there. But again, all of the newer builds on that quadrant are all going in this direction. And then if staff go to the next page, figure 6, we just wanted to highlight a bit of the factory behind the additional floor space, which would be a home study, which would be utilized in order for the owner, who does primarily work from home, to be able to have a comfortable work environment at his place of residence. So with that, we do feel our application meets the 4 tests. It is minor in nature. It offers no impact on the surrounding neighborhood. It meets the general intent of the zoning bylaw. And we do feel it's appropriate for the area. So with that, I turn it back to you for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Van Kulen. Questions, items of clarification? Go ahead, Mr. Dickey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make a comment just for future reference. When I first looked at this and saw your high, it's almost two-story, but I agree it's not full two-story. It was high pair of windows there. I had a concern with it. Then when I looked at it and realized they're facing the corner, I changed my mind. I just want to point out that's, to me, that's okay when it's on a corner, but when it's in another spot in an interior of a street, so to speak, I think I'd be thinking differently. But as it is, I'm okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any further questions, items of clarification or comments? Okay, I see none. Has anyone called with interest for this application, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
No, Madam Chair, there have been no calls.
Okay, we will take the matter into committee. Who would like to move a motion? Go ahead, Mr. Talowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'll move that this application be approved as applied for, finding that it meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act. I would note there's no community objection. I believe that the design of the house would mitigate any impact of the variance. And like Mr. Van Coolen referenced, I too, when I went out on the site, noticed the Wooddale property, found it to be very similar and an appropriate use for the property. I'd make the approval subject to the dwelling being built in general accordance with the site plan and elevations dated February 21st, 2025, and that the approval expires if a building permit hasn't issued within 2 years.
Thank you, Mr. Talowski. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? I see none. All those in support? Okay, the application has been approved. None opposed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Have a good evening. Application CV 045 of 2025 at 3280 Post Road. Again, it's application 045 of 2025 at 3280 Post Road. I have Jay Wu as the representative for this property. Sorry, no. Mr. Singh. Go ahead. Mr. Singh.
Good evening, Madam Chair, and to all committee members. We are proposing a below-grade entrance in a rear yard to make a basement entrance for a second unit in a basement. Actually, there is a fireplace jog in a rear wall of the house. Due to that, we have to encroach 1 foot more required setback in a rear yard. So it is only 1 foot more than the required. The required, the allowable setback is 1.5 meters into a rear yard. We are encroaching by 1.78 meters.
Okay. Is that all?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any questions of Mr. Singh regarding this application? Go ahead, Ms. Price.
I was just wondering, do the people that, is it going to be the same, or like, is it family that's going to be using the basement, the unit in the basement, or is it going to be a new tenant?
It is for a rental apartment, second unit.
Okay. Do you know, in terms of parking, based on my inspection, it looks like the garage only has 1.5 parking spots. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So in terms of parking, do you think there's going to be an issue with only having 1.5?
Yeah, actually, that was also my concern. So we sent an email to the zoning department, and we checked with them that is there anything related to parking, so that we can combine both together in a single minor variance application. So they clarified us. So there's no restriction regarding parking. We have an email from the zoning department.
So the second unit doesn't require a parking spot, is that correct?
No, it requires, but we have a wide driveway, so we can accommodate 2 cars on the driveway also.
Okay. Even though the garage is only 1.5 parking spots?
Like
Not a two-car, it's not a two-car garage parking or two garage.
yeah, garage is 4.88 meter wide.
So it accommodates one car or two cars, the garage?
One car.
Okay.
Okay.
I believe that the parking requires on the, as long as they can park on the driveway, but we can get clarification from the planner on this file. Who is that? Good evening, Ms. Buckerfield.
Sorry. Good evening. Through you, Madam Chair, this application is subject to zoning bylaw 2009-189. And in this instance, an additional parking space is not required for the additional space. So as long as there's 2 parking spaces on this property, there would be no parking issue.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, no problem.
Does that satisfy you, Ms. Price?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Dickey.
Could you just repeat that again about, so it's a different bylaw and it only requires 2 parking spaces when you have a basement apartment?
Through you, Madam Chair, I can provide additional clarification. So the town of Oakville is subject to 2 zoning bylaws. So north of Dundas and south of the 407, you have 2009-189, and then south of Dundas and north of 407, you have 2014-014 zoning bylaw, and they have different requirements and regulations and act quite differently. As you've probably seen in past applications, we often see zoning amendments to the South zoning bylaw, which is the 2014 bylaw, more regularly at the committee. But there is a significant distinction where an additional parking space is not required for an accessory residential unit. And so this is different than the previous application we looked at, where an additional parking space was required. So whatever is minimum required for the main dwelling is the required parking for the site. So there's 2 parking spaces, and that's all that's required, regardless if they have an additional unit or not.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't aware of that.
Any further questions? Okay, has anyone called with interest for this application, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
No, Madam Chair, there have been no calls.
Very well. We'll take the matter into committee then. Who would like to move a motion? Go ahead, Mr. Dickey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Based upon my review of the owner's application, the site plan, a site visit, together with the presentation by the owner's consultant and the planner and staff's report, I am satisfied that the variance is minor in nature and conforms to the 4 tests in the Planning Act. And I put forth a motion that the application as applied for be approved, subject to the condition that the proposed access stair be constructed in general accordance with the site plan and elevations dated November 2024, and that the approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision. Building permit has not been issued for the proposed construction.
Thank you, Mr. Dickey. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? Okay, I see none. All those in support? Okay, application has been approved, none opposed. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, application CAV 046 of 2025 at 750 Redwood Square. Again, that's 046 of 2025 at 750 Redwood Square. I have letters of opposition from Robert Stanley Jickling on behalf of the Alston Development Inc. and ABJ Property Holdings. And I have a request to speak from a Robert and Janice Jickling. And the agent is Mr. James Moulton and Daryl Cater, I presume. Go ahead.
Through the chair, good evening, and thank you, members of the committee, for meeting with us tonight. My name is Daryl Cater, and I'm the Director of Housing Services for the region of Halton. I'm joined today by James Moulton, Executive Director of the Salvation Army Lighthouse. When the Salvation Army Lighthouse was constructed 20 years ago, it had an occupancy limit of 40 beds applied, which responded to the local community need at that time. Since that time, homelessness in Halton region and Oakville has increased significantly. On any given night, shelter capacity sits at 140%, which has directly led to the increasing presence of encampments in the town of Oakville. Individuals in encampments are best served where there are 24/7 supports, and the Salvation Army Lighthouse is the only facility in the town equipped to do so. While the facility was originally intended to serve 40 residents, a renovation recently completed added a new wing to the property without increasing the number of beds. As such, on any given night, we have empty beds, which are available to help individuals in Oakville exit encampments in a highly supportive environment. This minor variance request responds to the current need in the community by increasing the maximum to 60 beds, which will allow us to offer a bed to any Oakville resident sleeping outside and adequately address the presence of encampments in this community. I'm grateful to the town of Oakville staff who have reviewed this application and approved it from a planning lens, as it meets the requisite 4 tests as described in Section 45 of the Planning Act. The proposed increase would be managed with additional staffing, safety protocols, and strong operational oversight by the Salvation Army, ensuring the shelter remains a safe, well-managed, and respectful presence in the neighborhood. The minor variance would allow us to take a small but meaningful step towards ensuring that no one in Oakville is left without a safe place to sleep simply because there are not enough beds. We did receive one concern from a neighboring manufacturer and are grateful for their feedback. Earlier this week, I had an opportunity to meet with the owners, and we had a very constructive meeting and have agreed to put into place a direct line of communication for them with the Salvation Army Executive Director, who is with us today. Should the property owner have any concerns with who they suspect may be a resident of the lighthouse, the matter can now be escalated and addressed directly by the Executive Director. The region has also connected with Halton Regional Police Services on this issue, who informed us the last police call to this address on Equestrian Court, named in the complaint, was from 2023. We respectfully ask for your support in moving this request forward for the benefit of our entire community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moulton. Sorry. Does Mr. Moulton have anything further to say?
Just briefly, Madam Chair and committee members, the Salvation Army is important work for us to work with vulnerable in the community, which we're very grateful to be a partner with the region. Part of our mandate is also to be a good neighbor. So as part of that conversation, with the one objection, as Daryl already pointed out, and this has worked in other facilities that I also oversee. When the complaints come directly to me, we have a very quick response to help alleviate any concerns that will be in the community. And we work closely with our neighbors and partners to help ensure that. Thank you for consideration of the application.
Thank you. Members, do you have any questions for Mr. Moulton or Mr. Cater? Okay, I see none. Has there been any calls, Madam Secretary, request to speak?
We do have Janice jiggling with her hand up.
Okay, go ahead. Please invite her in.
Sorry, can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Yeah. Yes, we did talk with Daryl earlier this week. Just to sort of summarize our concerns, is we've had problems with residents coming over to the property and observe drug use and also drug paraphernalia on the property. And in the past, when we've tried to interface with the Salvation Army Lighthouse in terms of calling them, we haven't had good response. Now, some connections have been made But, we haven't had an opportunity to trial these out. And our concerns were an increase in 50% occupancy is going to increase the incidences of people coming over to the property, more frequently. I mean, there isn't a lot of things to do in the neighborhood. There aren't any restaurants or places for people to go, or even great access to public transportation. And we happen to back onto a forested area, which provides people with, an opportunity to loiter around.
Okay. So you, having spoken to them, do you feel that your concerns have been met, or at least
they've been addressed? It's hard to know until you try it out, right? Until we have another incident and I have to make a phone call.
Oh, okay. Hopefully, we appreciate you coming in.
I mean, I recognize that there's a problem with homelessness, but when you have tenants in a building and trying to operate a business, and you have people stumbling around, and leaning up against the building, or we had an incident where people were passed out, it's challenging to run a business under those circumstances.
Yes, and we can totally appreciate that. But as you know, this meeting is on record, and both Mr. Moulton and Mr. Cater have expressed their willingness to work with you.
Right.
I sincerely hope that this collaboration moves in a positive way should we decide to approve this application. But we thank you for coming in person and relating your comments.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of Miss Strickling at this time, or other questions? Mr. Dickey, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just to the neighbor, which property are you involved with? The property that's on the northwest corner of Squeezing and Wycroft, or the property that's directly, like those two brown, just the one brown building is yours, or the second?
No, both of the brown buildings
two of them that look the same. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's where it's happening on both of those properties, or just the one closer to
well, both, but primarily the one that's directly across the road. I think what's happened is people come across, there's a ditch there between that sort of on the I guess west side of the property, and they've been in the parking lot behind there's a bit of brush there and some rocks that people could sit on, and that's where we've had it primarily.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or items of clarification? I'm trying to pull up the pictures on my end. If you just bear with me a second. I did have a question. There we go. mean, maybe you can help me out because I'm trying to see if there's any fencing or barriers between the two buildings.
Madam Chair?
There's no fencing between the two buildings. It's actually quite high truck traffic, like transport trucks going in between because there's loading docks between the two buildings.
Okay. Yes, Madam Secretary Treasurer, I heard you call me.
Sorry, I have Robert Jickling with his hand up. I don't know if he might be able to help with some answers as well.
Okay. Ms. Jickling, are you together? Do you want to pass him the phone or he has it?
No, he's in a different place.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Robert. You have to unmute yourself if you press *6 or the Secretary Treasurer is able to bring you in. Madam Secretary Treasurer, do you have access to him or does he have to press *6 to unmute himself?
No, I do have access. I'm just trying to move him into the meeting.
Very well, thank you.
It looks like he's declining to be promoted to panelist.
Oh, okay. Very well. Mr. Drickling, this is your time if you do want to speak before we take the matter into committee, because you will not be able to call back in and speak once we've taken the matter into committee. So I'm just giving you notice. If you do want, you have to speak now or forever hold your peace, as they would say. I'm going to give you a minute. Maybe you're having technical difficulties. Madam Secretary Treasurer, has there been another attempt?
Yeah, it looks like he's in the panelist section, but is not unmuting. He's still mute.
Does he have to press *6 or there's another mute button in Zoom?
There should
Is
be
he on video?
Yeah, he's on video. There should be a mute button. Would you be able to, Madam Chair, just repeat the phone number in case he wants to call in?
Sure. The phone number is 905-815-6095. Ms. Strickling, if you have any way of communicating, because we can't keep holding the meeting on hold, you can get confirmation of whether he is trying to get in or...
Okay, I'll try to call him on my cell phone. Okay. Can you repeat the phone number for him to call in slowly so he can write it down?
Sure. It's 905-815-6095. Again, 905-815-6095.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, we have him on the phone. We will move him into the meeting.
Very well, thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Robert.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry for this problem and the delay that it caused.
No, that's fine. Going completely electronic does have its pains, but that's fine. Go ahead.
So I want to impress upon the fact that we're not against shelter. In fact, we support shelters because we are philanthropic, and every year we are supporting shelters as one of our donators or donatees. Yeah. But this was indicated as an expansion, and there was going to be an addition to the building. Now I find out the building addition is already being done. However, given that, we need to have someone we can contact, because Janice and I saw the people laying on the rocks beside our building, and so she called the Salvation Army shelter, and they said, call the police. They got nothing to do with it. Well, maybe we can call the gentleman that manages the shelter, but we don't have his phone number. And is he on a 24-hour service? So this system isn't working. Now, how do we know if we have a problem that we can get an answer from somebody at the Salvation Army?
Well, I'm sure once you've exhausted all your comments, we'll pass the mic over to Mr. Moulton and
now,
Mr.
The other thing that I want to say is that, you know, I know this isn't the responsibility of this organization within the region, but we have a lot at 899 Equestrian Court, which was purchased by some people a couple of years ago now. They went in on the weekend and cleared out all the forest. So there's an empty space over there now, got a trailer in it, which has been it's abandoned. The people are going over there. But the town isn't doing anything about it. I had to last year call the town and tell them to cut the weeds down that are over there.
Yeah,
So, I don't have a lot of confidence that the town looks after these things.
I can tell you that a lot of the issues that you're having, you have to go through by law enforcement for weed cutting and so forth. But if it's not the property that belongs to the Salvation Army, I don't think that even they have control over it.
Okay,
I
understand.
At this point in time, we can is offer you the forum.
Okay, but I want to make one other comment.
Go ahead.
Okay, and I know that there's different divisions within the town and within the region and so on. This past week, I was trying to contact the tax department in Oakville. Well, put me on hold. I held for 90 minutes on my cell phone. Finally, I gave up. So we don't have 90 minutes to try and deal with one of these situations. They said we could contact and get drawings. There were no drawings. Daryl told us. Nothing's being built. It's already built. So basically, it's easier for you people to approve this because it's already built and you don't have to deal with it some other location. But we have to put up with a 50% increase in the number of people going in there. So that's all I have to say. It's not a good situation.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jacob. I will on to the gentleman and they can address your concerns, and perhaps we will have as a committee more questions before we make our decision. But we appreciate your comment. We do wholeheartedly take everything that you said into consideration. Thank you. I don't know who wants to start first.
Madam Chair, if I could speak.
Go
It's
ahead.
James. So what I would share with you is that I am not on call 24/7. So I am not available 365 days, but I have a large team that supports me. And what we would commit under my leadership is to be responsive to our neighbor, including, as I have done in the past. I oversee 6 different locations, so I have experience in dealing with this broadly. And we have set up even monthly meetings if necessary, or regular check-in points. I can share multiple individuals and multiple email addresses to ensure that both Janice and Robert have a contact beyond a singular point of contact with the Salvation Army. So that I do apologize that they would have received a response in the past that may have been not as complete as they would have been helpful at that time. But I can ensure that going forward that we can we will offer our selves multiples of ourselves, which I would share even more email addresses, more phone numbers for contact purposes, so that we can be a good neighbor here. At the end of the day, for us, we are looking after vulnerable people who need support. The facility is able to support the individuals. Our staffing are trained and ready to support. And my commitment is to support our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, can I comment on that?
No, Mr. Robert, but I will make sure that
It'll be short. It'll be short. Okay, in our discussions on this with Daryl, he said that you can't just call the receptionist because they aren't paid very much money, and so you got to contact James or something. So that's not an acceptable reason for not having any action on the part of the Salvation Army.
Yeah, but they will provide you moving forward with the proper channels to communicate any and all grievances. So, I mean, this forum that we're on right now, all recorded, it's all heard. At any point in time, you can pull up this meeting recording, and you will have that as evidence moving forward to take further action should there be. But I can't keep going back and forth, and I appreciate all the comments you've made. Mr. Cater, I do have a question with respect to the trailer and the empty lot in the back. Has anyone investigated that? Have we taken action to indicate that situation?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes.
How be the Salvation Army give us a procedure to follow and what action they're going to take?
Yes, they will. I'm sure they will by the end of this meeting. Please, Mr. Cater or Mr. Moulton, reach out to Mr. Robert and Janice. You figure out, should we do this? We're still in the process. This is not the forum to stipulate. I'm sure they don't want to give their in public either. It is a privacy issue, so they will contact you. They will reach out and give you a thing. But I would really appreciate if you would just mute yourself right now. This is our time, and we have to move forward. We have heard all your grievances and all your concerns, and we will take them into consideration as a committee, and I'm sure the applicant as well. And I did see them nod, but so they do affirm what I'm. So if you'd be kind enough to mute yourself for now. Go ahead, Mr. Cater.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we have reached out in writing to both Bob and Janice with the contact information and sort of how the process will work. And I think James is committed to following up with some additional contacts to ensure coverage. We also have 311, which is available 24/7 to take any complaints, and we've not received any to date. So with respect to the abandoned trailer, it is on private property, on an adjacent property, as was described by Mr. Jickling. And we had HRPS and our outreach team visit the site yesterday. Within 24 hours of receiving the report, they investigated the trailer. They have confirmed that it is abandoned, but because it is on private property, there are two pathways to go down. The property owner can ask for it to be removed, or Oakville can enforce the property standards bylaw with respect to that abandoned trailer, and we would support them in that process.
Okay. So in the event that we do approve this application, I would trust that you would be diligent in following up with them and helping them navigate those processes. You and me both know that calling 311 and being on hold for 20, 30 minutes, it's not a pleasant experience. I, as a private citizen, have done it, so have you. So it's nice to have this confirmation on record. You are there to support them, and as Mr. Moulton said, that you are going to be neighbors and basically put your actions where your words are.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any questions to the applicant from the committee members before we take the matter into committee and discuss a motion? Okay, I see none. Very well. Then we will take the matter to committee. Who would like to move a motion? Go ahead, Mr. Talowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Always difficult to weigh the interests of the different parties in these situations. While I understand the concerns from the neighbors, the concerns that they are raising are issues that are happening today and not subject to the variance. And I don't know that we can draw a direct correlation between increased number of beds and increased number of incidents. I will take the applicants at their word that they're going to put in a better process. And having said that, I hope multiple phone numbers and email addresses isn't just multiple people saying call the police, and that the staff will endeavor to assist or even make those calls if necessary. And Chair, I'm satisfied the intent of the bylaw was to put in a shelter system to a scale necessary to serve the community. And that unfortunately in these times, the need and the scale of the growing community, it increases with it. And so I'm satisfied, Madam Chair, this application meets the test of the Planning Act, and would recommend approval. And given that we're been led to understand that the existing building can accommodate the additional beds, that there's no need for any conditions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Tusk. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? Okay, all those in support? Okay, the application has been approved and none opposed. Gentlemen, I will hold you to your words. So thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Application CAV 005 of 2025. This application was deferred from January the 22nd of 2025, and it's at 363 Margaret Drive. Again, that's CAV 005 of 2025, deferred from January 22nd of 2025 at 363 Margaret Drive. And I believe it's the Halton Community Housing Corporation. We have request to attend from Wendy Funk Death, Tony Asta, and Charles LaForge. And we have representatives, several actually, Alyssa Mahood and Cynthia Zahrouk, and Naveen Solomon. Go ahead, Ms. Mahood. You're the first one to pop up, so I'm not sure if you're taking a point.
Yeah, just waiting for the presentation to come up.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thanks. My name is Alyssa Mahood. I am with Halton Region's Capital Construction Team, and I'm joined here tonight by Cynthia Zahrouk, the architect that's working with the region on this project. Next slide, please. So next slide. Yeah, thanks. Our property is located at 363 Margaret Drive. It's owned by Halton Community Housing Corporation, of which Halton Region is the sole shareholder. At this site, we're proposing to build a 3-story residential building containing 13 affordable family units, including 2 area-free units. Next slide, please. This is a view of the site plan for our development, showing the location of the building. We do have an irregularly shaped property with frontage on Margaret Drive, and this development meets all zoning requirements with regards to the setbacks on the property. Next slide, please. So tonight we're applying for 2 variances for this development. The first one is to permit a 3-story building where the bylaw only permits a 2-story building. Currently, what we are permitted under the zoning bylaw is demonstrated in diagram A on this slide, which is 2 stories with a raised basement. The raised basement does not count as a story because it's partially below grade. The reason we're requesting this variance is to elevate the below grade units by 1.25 meters, so they are fully at grade. This variance is being requested in order for us to design a barrier-free entrance and path of travel throughout the entire first floor of the building. This will allow individuals with mobility aids to be able to safely evacuate in the event of a hazard that restricts the operation of the elevator. Granting this variance does not result in any increase in lot coverage, unit size, or unit count. Next slide, please. This slide here shows the sun shadow study for the proposal. As you can see, the building has minimal impacts with regards to shadows on neighboring properties. We believe this variance is minor in nature, going from 2.5 stories to 3 takes place entirely within the building, and the overall zoning or height permitted in the zoning bylaw is still being adhered to. Next slide, please. The second variance we're requesting is to provide 100% of parking to be uncovered, whereas the zoning bylaw requires 50% of the minimum parking to be provided in either a private parking garage, carport, or parking structure. The intent of this zoning bylaw regulation is to reduce surface parking and to help with screening of parking areas so they are not visible from the street. The proposed parking lot for this development is located in the side and rear yard of the property because we do have that irregularly shaped site. In this instance, covering the parking area would have greater impact on the public realm, as it would increase the overall massing of the structure and the proposed building. So we're requesting the variance to this provision so that we are able to construct or to avoid having to construct a very large and costly parking structure for only 10 parking spaces. We feel that this is very minor in nature and will not negatively impact the streetscape or adjacent residents. Next slide, please. So this minor variance was presented back on January 22nd at the meeting, and we had requested that it be deferred in order for us to meet with residents to discuss some concerns that they had with regards to the two variances. On February 20th, we did hold a virtual public meeting. It was attended by 6 residents. And at that meeting, we heard concerns with regards to privacy and overlook into the rear yards from the proposed building, concerns regarding the removal of trees, and then concerns about noise and lighting due to the location of the parking lot. Next slide. So we've proposed some remedies to address the privacy concerns. We will be planting 2 new black cedar hedges of 5 cedars each in areas where there are gaps in the existing tree plantings. In addition, this development is also going to be required by the town's tree removal bylaw to provide 5 new trees to replace existing trees that are going to be removed. And these are depicted on the slide here in red. Next slide, please. In addition to the plantings, to address privacy concerns, we have raised or shortened our bedroom windowsills facing the existing residential dwellings. This will help to minimize overlook from the windows on the 3rd floor into the rear yards of the properties. And this is demonstrated on the drawing in blue. Those windows have been shortened. We have also relocated 3 windows on the side as well, as shown in red. We do still have requirements that we need to meet with regards to the Ontario Building Code for window openings and size and overall glazing, but we do feel that these changes that we have made will assist in privacy concerns. Next slide, please. This slide here sort of demonstrates the cone of vision for the building with the original bedroom window sizes as shown in diagram A. As compared to the new building design with shorter window sizes as in diagram B. And as you can see, shortening those window sills does decrease that cone of visibility into the rear yard of adjacent properties. Next slide. At the meeting, we also heard that there was a concern in relation to the location of the parking lot in relation to an adjacent property owner's rear yard. And I think the concerns were related to noise that may result from cars parking and people opening and closing doors and people within the parking lot, as well as light spillage from lighting that would be used to illuminate the parking area. So unfortunately, the location of the parking lot is prescribed not only by the zoning bylaw, but also by the town's official plan that does require surface lots to be located in the rear side yard of a property so that they do not dominate the streetscape. Because we do have a corner lot, the proposed surface parking lot location is sort of restricted to this area. We have ensured that this parking lot is set back sufficiently from the property lines to facilitate the preservation of existing trees and additional plantings that will provide a bit of screening and buffering from the adjacent neighbors. Next slide. And with regards to the concerns about our parking lot night lighting and it impacts on adjacent property owners, there is 1 light pole in the parking lot on the east side and 1 wall-mounted light on the wall adjacent to the main entrance. There is also 2 soffit lights on the underside of the entrance canopy. These are identified in red on this drawing. So one of the requirements we have to submit as part of our site plan is a photometric plan, ensuring that proposed lighting only stays within our property and no light spills onto the neighboring properties. So as you can see, the zeros indicate that that there is no lighting spillage that would be impacting the neighborhood or the neighboring properties from the lighting from our proposed development. And that's it. This concludes the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have regarding the variances.
Thank you. That was very helpful. Questions of Ms. Mahood at this time? Okay, I see none. Madam Secretary Treasurer, there are 3 who've asked to attend. Has anyone called with interest for this application and would like to speak? That you can.
Madam Chair, I do have one person with their hand up.
Okay, go ahead.
The name is Rod Murphy.
That's not in, but on my list. Go ahead, Mr. Murphy.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can. Yes.
Sorry. I have a couple of questions. I'm the property that is by the parking lot. And I should also point out that I am legally blind and use a white cane and have very limited vision. And my first question is, given the Ontario housing complexes that are along Margaret Drive, and for some reason they are permitted to have parking on the street, whereas here on Elmwood, we are not permitted to have parking on the street. Will there be parking on the street in front of this dwelling?
Okay. I'm going to take down all your questions and then we'll pass them for response. So go ahead and relate to your concerns.
And then my other question is, especially since we had such a big snowfall this year, and if there's going to be a parking lot there, where does the snow go? It's going to go at the end of the parking lot, which will be in the park right behind my house. And where does the drainage of that liquid go when the snow melts? So, because a neighbor of ours on Slater, they created a new parking lot on Spears, and all the water would go down into their property and flooded their basement. So that is something I'm concerned about, given that, hey, the parking lot is part of the imprint, and then the snowbank, oh, that's the park. Sorry, that's not our problem. So I'm concerned about that. And, you know, given the size of the building on that little corner, and it has got very, very poor sight lines for a sighted person, with people driving around. And then there's a if you want to cross the street at that corner, it is, you know, it's problematic with the limited vision that I have. And then if there's going to be limited sight lines because of cars parked there now, there are no cars parked there now because there are no dwellings there, and the daycare on the other side, people don't park on that side. So I'm concerned about, you know, my safety, and I'm concerned about the drainage. If there's a huge snowbank, where's that water going to go?
Okay, those are all valid questions, and I'm sure Ms. Mahood or Ms. Zaruk will can address them. Go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. With regards to on-street parking, so on-street parking is regulated by the town of Oakville. Any parking that is required for this development must be contained on our site. We're required to provide 20 parking spaces. There will be 20 parking spaces on our property. I am not sure that there is on-street parking permitted on Margaret Drive right now. I don't think there is. And there is?
Yeah.
On Margaret?
If you go further down at the end of the park where the Ontario Housing is, people are parked on both sides of the street every day.
Okay.
And 24/7. Yeah.
The parking permissions is governed by the town of Oakville. So that would be something that you'd have to talk to the town with. But we are required to provide all parking within our site. There is 13 units that are going to be proposed here, and all of that parking for the 13 units will be on our own property within our parking lot. With regards to snow storage, so as part of our site plan application, we are required to ensure that we do have ample space on our property for snow storage. We would not be putting that snow on the park area. That land does not belong to Halton Region, that's town property. So we do, through our site plan application, have to identify locations for snow storage. I don't think that there would be a lot of snow storage from the parking lot area. There are 10 spaces, but I can understand your concerns. Cynthia, I'm not sure we know exactly where through the site plan that was identified, but I don't think it was, but we do have to contain it on our site, not within the park at all. That's correct.
You mentioned something about the line of sight in terms of walking and safety.
Yeah, because at that corner, there is no stop sign, and there is a hole in the fence where there's a sidewalk going up Dorval. So crossing over at that corner can be problematic at the best of times.
Is that the corner of Margaret and Elmwood that you're talking about? Okay. Yep. Yeah. So that's something as well that maybe we have the town of Oakville on as well, because there was no requirements for any upgrades for from a traffic perspective from this development, but they could maybe take that back. With regards to sight lines, you were referring to on-street parking as well.
Yeah.
So that's something I think to follow up, I think, with the town, because they would be able to permit or restrict parking in front of this property. We don't intend that anyone who is living in this dwelling would be parking on the street, and we also provide visitor parking as well within our site.
So visitor parking, you say there are going to be 20 parking spots in that parking lot.
Yeah, there's 20 spaces, and then part of that included in those 20 spaces are visitor spaces. So there's 13 units and 20 parking spaces.
Yeah, 13 units and I don't correct me if I'm mistaken. Some of these units are 6 for 6 people, 5 people, 4 people. So multiple. It's a multiple family. Not multiple family, but a bigger family dwellings, which we all know that is needed, but we know if, like, my daughter's now 17, I have a 1-car driveway, so, and so when people come over to visit, we have to figure out where to park, and they park on the street with overnight pass, because that's what we have to do on this street. You're having multiple people living in these places. As they get older, there will be more than cars and other cars coming to visit. So I'm telling you, based on what's happening further down the street, and that side of the street, those sides of the street are full all the time. And people, when I'm in the car, my driver whoever's driving has to, go in one side, go out that, like sort of zigzag through to get past the multiple cars on either side. So it's not going to be the way it is now, where there's nothing on the street, at least on that half of Margaret Drive. And I know it's not your, I know now that we're talking about parking on the street, but it's still, you're putting in a big building with multiple people, and the traffic is going to increase, and significantly, and people will park there.
unfortunately, that is the pain of growth. And as long as people meet the bylaw requirements and they put in the spaces that are required, there's really not much we can do. But there are avenues in terms of support when if there is parking infringement through the bylaw enforcement and through the town or walkways and so forth. So I encourage you to try those and to help with any of your concerns. But as far as the concerns with respect to this property and the variances that are proposed today, I believe they've answered your questions and they have met the, I guess, the burden of support for those concerns. If there's nothing else, I can take someone else's call, or if there is any more raised hands, Madam Secretary Treasurer.
Yes, we do have one more with their hand up, Charles LaForge.
Okay, go ahead.
Does everyone hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. LaForge.
Took a little while to unmute there. Thanks for taking our call. I think I think Rod's concern with traffic around that corner is not misplaced, even if it's not necessarily the responsibility of the building so much as it is kind of the town, right? It's a dangerous, or I perceive it to be a bit of a dangerous street as is, and the 20 spaces for the 13 units, I think there will be overflow, but understanding that that's not the responsibility of the building. Alyssa, do you mind sharing that two slides for me? The first is the one with the trees, or like the top down view. And not that one there, but the one that has the trees. So quick question. I'm house 254, where we have the proposed cedar hedge there. I have a cedar hedge which covers essentially my entire backyard fence. On the other side of the fence, I was wondering, and I'm not an arborist, and I know you've engaged some of your own as part of the process here. Does it make sense to have two kind of adjacent cedar hedges on either side of a fence, or should we consider possibly trees in that space? I know we're removing, sadly, a kind of a fully grown black walnut on the eastern, like the southeastern corner of my property, or sorry, southeastern adjacent corner to my property. So that's the question on the hedge there. And then if we go over to the slide where you share the line of sight into the backyards, I have a question on that one as well. So I guess looking at the slide to the right, what's the height of the individual that you use there for the cone of vision? I can't see it there.
I have to ask Cynthia to weigh in. I think it was 5'7" or 8.
Yes, that's correct, Alyssa. We had the position of the person's eyes and point of vision as 5'6".
Sorry, so the individual in this picture is 5'6" or 5'7"?
No, their position of their eyes, 5'6". So they could be.
They could be taller than that. Okay. No, that's good. Okay, so thanks for that piece. Like I don't know that I'm still necessarily kind of satisfied with the privacy concerns when you look at the 2 plus raised basement versus the 3 stories kind of as the backyard neighbor. I'm just thinking of the the rest of the buildings in the neighborhood being 2 stories, including the affordable housing to the south of the proposed development. Like also understanding that the current zoning is limited to the 2 stories, despite the same 15 meter overall height. I still don't necessarily see this kind of adjustment as being minor, the 2.5 to 3, but I guess that's an opinion more than anything else. So interested to hear about the cedar hedge and I guess privacy more generally. And that's all. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. I need to pan out. Go ahead, Ms. Mood.
Through the chair, yes. We can explore options if there was something other than the cedar hedge. We had proposed that at the Public Information Center as an option and didn't really hear that that it wasn't satisfactory, but we can look into tree plantings if that would make sense. We have a bit of limited space, I think, in that area due to the location of the parking lot. So it'd just be trying to find a tree that would be suitable, but I don't think that that's it's something we can talk about with you as well, if you'd like to decide what you prefer for plantings. We propose the cedar hedges because they do get very large and they're very bushy. As in, sometimes with trees, you end up with a larger tree trunk and then the canopy is higher up, but that's something we can talk about for privacy.
But also with they're evergreens, so you don't get the changes in the seasons as well.
Seasons, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I'm sure we can discuss that further, Alyssa. I was just kind of curious about the benefit or the merit of having two cedar hedges just separated by that small wooden fence, and whether that from an arborist standpoint there was any concern there. But no, I understand what you're saying.
Okay, very well. So then you will reach out between the both of you and figure those things out. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else waiting to speak to the committee, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
Madam Chair, I don't see any more hands up.
Very well. Committee members, if you have no further questions, we can take the matter into committee and move a motion. Okay, so I see no hands. Who would like to move a motion? Go ahead, Ms. Price. Ms. Price, you're muted still.
Okay. Based on my site visit as well as the agent's presentation, I believe that after listening to the neighbors' comments, I believe the 4 tests have been met and therefore the variance can be considered minor in nature. I recommend the owner's application be approved subject to the following conditions: that the building need be built in general accordance with the final approved site plan, site plan 1617.059/01 to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning and Development, that the approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision if a building permit has not been issued for the proposed construction.
Thank you, Ms. Price. I will say thank you to the region for hearing our concerns and the concerns of the public and coming back with a more appealing proposal. With that said, the motion before us is to approve. Is there a discussion on that recommendation? Okay, I see none. All those in support? Okay. All those, there's none opposed. Your application has been approved. Thank you, and have a good night.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Application CAV 018 of 2025, deferred from February the 19th at 190 Donnessy Drive. Again, that's 190 Donnessy Drive, and that's application CAV 018 of 2025. I have Ms. Gava here as the agent. Go ahead.
Good evening, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Sandra Gava, architect and agent. My address is 669 Montego Crescent. Quick background on this file. It was always my client's intent to go to the committee with a positive planning report. After we were deferred at our last hearing, we worked with staff to address the contentious issues on the proposal, and we thought we came to an understanding that satisfied their concerns. So we were a bit surprised to see a negative report come in on Friday. After further discussions with planning staff, it was communicated that eliminating the height variance would alleviate the overall concerns about scale. So we wanted to ask, given the straightforward nature of the height variance, and you can see in this 3D image, what reducing that height looks like, the pink being that 0.45 meter reduction. We wanted to ask if the committee would accept that revision today. And if not, we would like to defer if that is acceptable.
Okay. I have a question for planning. Does reduction of the height affect all the other calculations?
Through the chair, yes. To consider all the variances, the increase in residential floor area, the dwelling depth, and the height, cumulatively, they are negative. They do not represent what is favorable for the community, for the streetscape. Reducing the height eliminates a variance, bringing it down to the 2, being the dwelling depth, which I've said is related to the covered porch primarily. And then the residential floor area, there is an open to below in the rear. It's not facing the streetscape, but reducing the height would assist with the overall impact on the streetscape. I have not reviewed any plans, elevations depicting this reduced height, so I don't see, like the roof line, for example, where it's peaked. I don't see how the reduction in the height is being impacted, but that is my opinion.
Thank you. Ms. Gava, I haven't seen you before, so other than that time, but why did you not ask for your deferral earlier on in the meeting when we requested deferrals?
I spoke with, I think it was Jen Ulsar. She recommended that I could ask at this point to see if you guys were amenable to a reduction in a variance. I know it's not often favorable, but she thought it could be a good idea to check and see.
Okay. I personally, I would allow you to take the deferral to go back and provide proper drawings and allow the planner time to consider the proposal. I'm not sure how my colleagues feel, but this is where I stand. Any comments? Mr. Talowski?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that would be appropriate, given that if I'm hearing staff correctly, they're indicating that the application with the removal of the height variance would be satisfactory to staff. I think it's probably preferable to let the applicant seek a deferral at this time, provide appropriate drawings, and have staff confirm their support at that time.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Talowski. Any further comments? Okay, I see none. All those support for a deferral, and you will have to pay the deferral fee, as you know.
Yes.
Okay. So your application has been deferred. You'll see the Secretary Treasurer at your earliest convenience.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, application CAV 023 of 2025, deferred from February the 19th of 2025 at 2358 Rebecca. Again, that's CAV 023 of 2025, deferred from February the 19th at 2358 Rebecca Street. I have Allison Weir and Aslam Idali, I believe. They're the property owners. Are they representing themselves? There's also a letter of opposition from Mr. Tilo and Doris Blankenfeld. Okay, Ms. Weir, you're representing yourself. Go ahead.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Can you see my presentation?
I believe staff is pulling it up as we speak. Just give them a moment.
My name is Allison Weir, owner of 2358 Rebecca Street, speaking in regards to application A023-2025. We are requesting only one minor variance to increase the residential floor area ratio to 44.33%, a modest
Still have the previous application on Dauncey. Oh, there we go. Go ahead.
Okay, so we're requesting a modest increase to the RFA of 3.33% increase. This request is to accommodate my large multi-generational family's needs who will be living in the home, myself along with 3 adults and 3 children. Precedents within the neighborhood exist. Similar approvals were granted for 2450 Rebecca Street. They were approved for a 44.4% RFA in 2022. And then 2354 Rebecca Street were approved for a 43.92% RFA in 2022. Originally, we proposed a 45.87% RFA, but after considering the town planner feedback, we reduced the dwelling's depth and increased the front yard setback to minimize impacts of scale and massing. I wanted to note that our initial variance application, we received 3 letters of support from neighbors demonstrating community acceptance of increasing our RFA. Slide 2. The areas highlighted in yellow indicate the increased RFA that we are requesting. This will allow for a 4th bedroom and ensuite, as well as an elevator to accommodate my family's needs. You can see that the garage is recessed and a section of the 2nd floor above the garage is also recessed. These design elements contribute to mitigating scale and mass and also serve a practical purpose to allow ease for entering and exiting the driveway on the busy main road. The 3rd slide. So here is a rendering of the proposed design and its location on Rebecca Street. A concern in the variance report was that the architectural design is not in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. However, the dwelling reflects neighborhood character by incorporating contemporary design and different materials, including siding, stone, and glass, also found in nearby homes. These elements enhance the front elevation while ensuring the home harmonizes with its surroundings. The next slide. So the top image isn't showing. It was similar to the bottom one, but this is a rendering produced by my architect, and it shows the proposed dwelling alongside neighboring homes. These include modern builds with open to above family rooms and foyers, which are visible from the street. The variance report notes that while open to above areas do not technically count toward the RFA, they impact massing and scale in a way that, according to the report, does not protect neighborhood character. However, this design feature is common in the area. I'll provide some examples. Next slide. So in 2022, or 2354 Rebecca Street, directly east of my property, was approved with an RFA of 43.92%. It features similar modern design elements, including an open to above front family room with large windows. However, while it has only a small recess section above the garage, my proposed design recesses the entire garage and a portion of the second floor above it to mitigate scale and mass. And next slide. So as seen here, 2346 Rebecca Street, so another property close by to mine. It features open to above windows in the front room and foyer with no recessed elements to the front elevation. While this development did not require any variances, it demonstrates a new modern home in keeping with the evolving modern designs on the street. Unlike our proposal, this design does not incorporate architectural elements or materials to mitigate scale and massing, resulting in a boxier appearance. In contrast, our design introduces recessed elements as well as lighter materials such as glass and siding to create a more visually balanced and refined streetscape presence. And we'll just go back to the first slide. So in conclusion, we're requesting a single variance, a modest RFA increase while fully complying with lot coverage, height, and setbacks. We want to acknowledge the concerns outlined in the submitted neighbor's letter. It does not oppose our requested variance, but rather highlights the temporary impacts of construction, such as noise and congestion. We have hired a professional builder and are committed to ensuring a responsible and considerate construction process that respects our neighbors. So we hope for the committee's support in approving this application so we can build our dream family home. And I'm open to any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weir. Questions from the committee members to Ms. Weir at this time? Okay, I see. Okay, Mr. Are you putting the hand up or not?
Yes, sorry.
It's like
this is at the front. You've got the front wall goes straight up, not straight up, but it does not step back on the second story. But there is something else. There's like an overhang, not like a parapet. Something over there. It comes out about a foot and a half, does it?
To be honest, I don't know the exact measurements. Are you talking in front of the, like above the door or?
I'm looking
I think it's all over. It's where the lighting is, right? Is that what you're asking about, Mr. Dickey?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the side elevation and seeing that something projects over at the front. And I guess that helps the roof line. Didn't quite know if I had it interpreted. Just let me look at the other side. Okay, I see it saying there. Okay, I see where it's going there. Okay, thank you. Sorted it out.
Very well. Has anyone called with interest to speak to this application, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
No, Madam Chair, there have been no calls.
Okay. The applicant also addressed the letter of opposition, so we're fine. So if there are no further comments or questions to Ms. Weir, we can take the matter into committee and start the discussion. Or any questions of planning before we move on? I see everyone deliberating. Okay, I'll give them a minute. Seeing as though this is the last application. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Price.
Okay, based on my site visit and the presentation by the owner, I think the examples that she has used demonstrate that this property is very similar to the other houses on the street. And I think for that reason, I would support the I would approve of it, and I believe that the four tests have been met, and therefore the variance can be considered minor in nature. I recommend the owner's application be approved subject to the following conditions. Oh, we don't have any conditions. I'm sorry.
We could, the conditions could read that they are in general accordance with the submitted plans, and that our standard condition does apply that the approval expires within 2 years of the date of decision and building permit not been issued, unless Ms. McFay can interject and propose other conditions, or are those acceptable to you should we decide to approve this application?
It's the will of the committee what to do with the matter at hand. I would just ensure that you use the date that's referenced in the application form, the date of the site plan and the elevations, which is February 18th, 2025.
For elevations and site plan, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Price, if you want help with the proposed conditions, it would be similar to one of the other conditions, that the dwelling be in general accordance with the submitted site plan and elevation drawings dated, and then you would say February the 18th of 2025. And then that approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision if a building permit has not been issued or proposed construction, for the proposed construction.
You're okay with that? I have to repeat that, or can I?
No, I think we've read it into record.
Okay.
If you're okay with that, then
I'm fine with that.
Secretary Treasurer has got it, right? Okay. So those are the proposed conditions. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? Mr. Talowski?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'm going to take the contrary view. I don't believe using a house that's out of character in the neighborhood that didn't require variances to be the appropriate test on this application. I will note the house next to it did get a variance, but I believe by its sloped roofs, it softened the impact. And I don't believe that this application, similar to staff, has made an effort to soften the impact of the variance that's being requested. Yes, they could build a house that looks just like the one down the street if they complied with the bylaw, but they're not complying with the bylaw. And with that, as usual, I believe the onus is on the applicant to try to mitigate the impact of the variance, and I don't believe they're doing so.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Podolsky, for your comments. Mr. Any further comments or? Okay. So the motion before us is to approve this application, subject to the read conditions. All those in support? Okay, all those opposed? Okay, and the chair will abstain. Thank you. Your application has been approved, and have a good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next matter on our agenda for this evening is confirmations for minutes for the March 19th meeting. We would like to confirm those minutes. Thank you, Mr. Dickey. And I need a motion to adjourn. No one wants to adjourn? Dickey. Mr. Dickey, thank you. We are adjourned at 9:14 p.m.